I want you to look back on the last few decades of the Philippine government since the Marcos administration. What do you notice when you recall the last set of presidents or senators? Whose names did you see the most on the news? If you happen to see a similar pattern of names throughout history, then we might be having the same idea. But if you haven't, allow us to introduce the concept.
Political dynasties have prevailed in the Philippines for decades up until now. More than 70% of party list groups which competed in the 2022 elections have ties to political dynasties and big business interests. So to better understand political dynasties, let's break it into two types: fat political dynasties and thin political dynasties. Fat political dynasties involve having more than two family members seated in the government simultaneously. Thin political dynasties, on the other hand, refer to a political family's line of succession in the government over time. This means that the family is present in government over a long period of time, but the members are not in power simultaneously.
Examples of fat political dynasties are the Marcoses, Romualdezes, and the Dutertes. And examples of thin political dynasties are the Robredos and the Macapagals.
So what causes so many political dynasties to occur in the country? We can divide the factors into two main reasons. First, it is due to the political and socio-economic foundations upon which political dynasties are built. Socioeconomic and political inequalities are further perpetuated with the association of political dynasties with massive corruption. This in itself is a form of threat to democracy, a kind of distortion in social relations, and makes the field of competition, such as political competition, uneven.
Second, the inability to effectively implement Philippine constitutional provisions by enacting an enabling law. The Constitution, Article 2, Section 26, provides, "The state shall guarantee equal access to opportunities for public service and prohibit political dynasties as they may be defined by law." Our Constitution was ratified in 1987. It is now 35 years since we ratified the Constitution, but during this entire time of more than 2 decades, Congress has failed to comply with its constitutional duty to pass a law defining and prohibiting political dynasties. Self-interest naturally ensures that members of Congress who will be adversely affected by any political dynasty law will vote and actively campaign against it. Today, the Philippines is now conceivably the world capital of political dynasties. The resilience of the established political dynasties across the decades was in great part due to their ability to diversify economically, enabling them to adapt and hold on to their political power. At the same time, for new dynasties, the accumulation of a diversity of economic interests meant that a small dynasty could emerge from even the poorest provinces of the country. These are how political dynasties grew, in front of plain sight of the people.
It is evident that the political dynasties in the Philippines have not been effective or beneficial in ruling the country. The persistence of political dynasties in the Philippines is acknowledged as bringing adverse effects on the country, including the perpetuation of poverty and underdevelopment, the propagation of political and socio-economic inequality, and the prevalence of massive corruption.
I was not really in favor of us two brothers running at the same time. We are running as representatives of the people, not of the family.
Despite everything mentioned, I like to pose this question. If the people in power are good, honest leaders, would having a political dynasty in government still be a bad thing? If all leaders in the political dynasty actually excelled, then would there still be a problem? The simplest answer would be probably not, but it also depends on how you look at it. Undeniably, majority of citizens in any country would only want the best government or the best people in power, whatever best would mean to them. There may be families in where every member has been proven to be capable and loving of their country. They may all be well educated and have a lot of credentials, and overall proven to be strong and compassionate leaders. If you think about it, having a government full of people like that would actually seem to be beneficial, no matter if they were from the same family or not. However, maybe the issue on political dynasties is not entirely about the actual people in those dynasties, but how the government really is, how people are appointed, or how people are voted in. In the Philippine elections, popularity matters. Your promises matter, maybe more than your previous actions do. There's a lot of power in who people think you are, or who people think you will be, and especially those you're associated with. Even within the government, you have an instant ally if you are loyal to the president, and of course, your own family members working with you. In the Philippines, people rely on each other for support, especially in personal endeavors. With the prevalence of corruption in the past administrations, having a good relationship with someone in the government can mean wealth, even if the wealth is not allotted for your personal use. If a potential leader promises prosperity for those in need, no matter what they actually do, there will be people finding that prosperity in them for as long as they're in power, even if it never comes. What makes political dynasties an issue is not in the people themselves. The phenomenon gives insight into how leaders are actually selected. Loyalty merely based on promises, close relationships, and overall popularity can be dangerous when you fail to look at the big picture. What does the country need, and who are the kinds of people that can develop it? What are the perspectives needed in this? There may be promising leaders who are not part of a political dynasty, and therefore may not have a chance to hold a seat in the government, solely because people do not see them as much as they see those with family status. In a culture where corruption and blind loyalty prevail, how can we address the issue on political dynasties?
Since Congress cannot be expected to pass the enabling law, another constitutional provision can be used to do it. Fortunately, the people can directly exercise legislative powers as provided under Sections 1 and 32 of Article 6 of the Philippine Constitution. With 10% of the registered voters nationally, including at least 3% per congressional district signing a petition, the enabling law could be passed. Additionally, Republic Act No. 9189 allows overseas Filipinos to vote on plebiscites, referenda, and initiatives. So this campaign could unite Filipinos abroad and encourage them to register and participate actively. Their signatures can be counted towards the 10% requirement. Finally, addressing the issue on political dynasties comes down to influence and example. It would be challenging to reshape society's perspective of political dynasties. In the current situation, not many people are aware that political dynasties are one of the main causes of corruption that happens in the country. Politicians share their family photos in their respective barangays, which many times have 2 or more members in the government. Fathers and sons inherit the throne in the Senate. A change should be made, and sooner the better. No matter how small the progress, it will still be a step forward towards a better system in our government.